Okay, the story of the ghosts in the auditorium is a little varied, because there's about 3 versions. But I guess the first question is, have you ever seen a ghost? You know, have you really actually seen someone? Abraham Lincoln walking in the White House. Have you actually seen? I can tell you that I've never seen, but I hear some interesting noises when I'm in the auditorium. I was told about a young lady who had fell during the 80s, and she died as a result of her injury. She actually fell from the ceiling to the floor in the area of the orchestra pit. But the story that I found that seems to be even more credible, at least that was in the newspapers, was at the turn of the century, you know, that there was nothing there. There were houses, 4 houses. They faced Valley Boulevard coming from 2nd Street toward Rancho. And in those houses, of course, just as any other house, there were deaths. But unfortunately, there were some murders. And the story was about a young lady who had come here visiting, looking for her parent, either in Colton or San Bernardino. And she went to a particular house, one of the 4 that was there, and there was a person that welcomed her. But when it came time to leave, he wasn't willing to let her go. And she went to the front door, and he went there and blocked it somehow, according to the newspaper report. And then she ran to the back door, but as they ran to the back door, they passed through the kitchen, and he grabbed a knife. And he killed both the lady and the baby. This is one of those stories that I read out of the newspaper that is specific. The others just relate that there were murders in the other rooms. But remember, the auditorium didn't come until the 50s. So with all the deaths and what have you that was happening in those 4 houses, those people let the houses go to foreclosure. The city took it over because we were here. In fact, the room we're standing in was the admin building, or behind the admin building. So they decided, the city, after taking over the properties, donated the properties to the school. So where the auditorium sits, if you can imagine the front gates, you're in the property all the way up into the foyer and maybe a little bit further back. That was the properties that belonged to those individual houses. So they donated the property, we did a joint venture to do the auditorium. But when you go in the auditorium, there are sounds.
I'm trying to get on.
Yeah, there are voices, there is words. I've never heard words, but I've heard voices. And things have happened when I've walked backstage. I use the light off of my camera, and this has happened to me more than once, and I've checked ahead of me. For some unfortunate reason, the lights to the stage are on the wrong side of where you enter. If you enter from the back, the switches are more toward the front of the stage, so you have to walk in the dark. Well, of course, with technology as it is, I use my phone, bring up the flashlight, and there's nothing in my way. When I shut that light off, I'm surprised. I walk into a chair, I walk into a table that wasn't there a second ago. I didn't hear it come, it's just kind of appeared. When I turn the light on, I can see that it's there. But again, I didn't see it with my flashlight. So are ghosts real? Have you talked to one lately?